Hey there, welcome to the Cindy Donaldson Show, the podcast that gets real about life, leadership, and owning your truth. I'm your host, Cindy Donaldson, high performance coach, business strategist, unapologetic truth teller, and believer that success starts from the inside out. If you're ready to ditch the fluff, challenge the status quo, and create a life that actually feels good, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. I want to share a little bit about an email that I sent out this morning, and it's centered around a ChatGPT prompt that I found on TikTok of all things. I was scrolling at night and I came across this creator and I forget her name, so I apologize if this creator ever watches this. You'll know who you are. Who asked ChatGPT this really profound question and asked the AI bot to pretend to be their higher self. And I want to actually, I have it queued up. I want to read the prompt that I put into ChatGPT because it's pretty wild. I want to uncover the masks I am currently wearing, the roles I am playing, and the illusions I am believing. Please guide me through this process by asking me 10 reflective questions, one at a time, to help me recognize the stories I'm telling myself. After I answer the 10th question, please step into the role of my higher self and analyze my responses. Identify the top negative patterns present in my life and the top positive patterns I can embrace and grow. Be direct and truthful, tough, embrace and grow. Be Sorry, I wrote that twice. Provide me with daily affirmations to support my growth, actionable steps to change the behaviors and embody my authentic self. A message of encouragement from my higher self to celebrate how far I've come on my journey. I thought this was kind of fascinating, and I really didn't put too much credibility into it. Let me back up a bit. I do use AI a lot, not to write my content, but to kind of get my thoughts together. And I really use ChatGPT almost as a think tank buddy. My ChatGPT has a name. Its name is Rogue, which I asked it to name itself. And based on our relationship, and the things that ChatGPT knows about me, rogue is really quite fitting because I'm kind of a rogue person. I go off on, tangents and do wild things. So I have spent a lot of time um, telling ChatGPT who I am, my mission, vision, and values. ChatGPT knows about all of my business goals, my personal goals, knows all about my business, knows a lot about me. And so again, I was still leery as to how this is all going to play out, but it's not going to work as well for you if you haven't spent the time to build up your persona with your ChatGPT. In any event, I gave it the prompt and it went through the first question, which I shared in my email this morning. And I was like, wow, these are pretty deep questions. So I went through all 10 of them. And then I asked ChatGPT to find the patterns. Like it said, find the negative ones, find the positives. But I really wanted it to um, based on, I had it help me write a business plan and things that I want to do over the next 12 months in my companies. And it was wild. It was wild. It called me out on so many things. And if you listen to my first podcast in this season, I shared how I took a whole year off from the podcast because I was really hung up on this video thing, that I didn't want to edit the videos. And I started using Adobe Podcast because you can easily edit things, and but there's no video to it. And it was just easier. So I was like, you know what? I don't need the video. But then I go through this whole process with ChatGPT, and one of the things that I mentioned was that, jokingly, I was out with some college buddies, and I mentioned I wanted to be Mel Robbins, that I could be Mel Robbins, that I could have a top podcast, that I could write a book, I could be on stage demanding $250,000. And my friends sort of like, well, you can't do that. You're not Mel Robbins. You don't have her background. You don't have her connections. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. And I'm also listening to the Let Them Theory, Mel Robbins' latest book, while I'm at the gym. And she kind of goes over the fact that when she first started her podcast, she kind of got hung up on comparing herself to others and the fact that the podcast space is really flooded. And the same when she started her coaching career. Like she was a lawyer. Like she didn't know anything about coaching. She went to an event. She's like, I'm going to be that person, kind of like I said about her. And she just did it. And she's like, you know, you have to put in the reps. You have to start somewhere. And comparing yourself to other people only works if you do it the right way, which is really the focus of my podcast content for today. But I wanted to share this up front. So ChatGPT, aka Rogue, called me out and said, Cindy, if you want to be, you know, Mel Robbins, then you need to have video. You have to have video. You've got to build up your YouTube channel and you need to put more video out on TikTok and on Reels and all that. People need to see you. And I pushed back and I said, well, remember, part of the business plan was I wasn't going to do the video anymore. I was just going to use Adobe Podcast. And Rogue said, well, I was wrong. Based on all of the answers to these questions, this is the one thing that you're holding back. Like you're afraid of failure, afraid of judgment. You don't want people to say that your videos suck. You don't want to see the messy room behind you. And I was like, you're right. You're right. I don't want to learn how to edit video. I don't want, you know, right now I'm living in the lower level of my daughter's house and it's kind of a mess behind me. And Rogue said to me, Cindy, that's your life. And you share about your life. You're very open about your life. So who cares what it looks like behind you? Get on the video. And I was like, oh, okay. Called me out 100%. And so here I am on the video once again. So my no video podcast lasted two episodes, and now I'm back. Which kind of leads me to what I want to talk about today, which is stop outsourcing your power. At one point, I had a coach or a therapist or somebody tell me to stop reading personal development books. I was kind of a junkie, and I was really in this space of growing myself. I had a failed company. I'd started another company. Went to work in corporate America, left, started another company, and I was just kind of all over the place. I wanted to be the best version of me. And so I read all the top books. Have I read them all? No, but I've read a lot. And after a while, it's kind of like Googling what's the best diet. You're going to get carnivore, vegan, both sides say it's great. It's even like politics. You can read something and then you can read another book that completely discounts what the other one said. And I know a lot of people are in this space, right? I know a lot of people and that will read a book and then they don't do anything with it, or they read another book and it's conflicting. And then they come to me and like, well, what do I do? Like, tell me what to do. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. So you have to really kind of go through the personal work first before you start adopting somebody else's process or blueprint. And it kind of comes back to this Mel Robbins thing. So I don't need to be Mel Robbins, but what I can do is take the blueprint that she did on how she launched her podcast, how she took her speaking gigs from, you know, free to women's groups to demanding $250,000 on stage. How do I know that? Because I was looking for a speaker for a program that I'm doing, and I reached out to one of the speaker bureaus, and that is her going rate, plus, meaning plus travel, plus everything else. So, but 5, 6 years ago, she was speaking for free. So you can do it. She put in the reps, she figured it out how to do it. And instead of comparing herself to other people who had already gotten there or saying that the market's already saturated, she just did it. And whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And she learned, she finessed, she did all the things. But, and this is a big but, like she's not a Tony Robbins. She does a lot of personal development work, as do I. But what she did is found those people that were really successful, figured out what they did, and then figured out what aligned with her and what worked for her. So this is a question that I get all the time from my coaching clients or people that are on my email list. Cindy, how do you know which book is right for you? Like which path is right for you? Which personal development lane to go down? And I was like, you have to know if it aligns with you. Now, I've definitely gone and I have seen a lot of the top personal development speakers in person. I've gone to a lot of conferences. And again, I've worked with a lot of coaches, and some of them work really well for me. And others, I'm like, it doesn't align. But here's the thing. You have to know what that means. So when I say it aligns, it has to align with your mission, vision, and values. So for instance, if I went and saw, say, a business strategist or hired a business coach, and I got the feeling that they were really unethical. I go, oh, yeah, you can make millions in the stock market. You just have to learn this insider trading stuff. Like, no, that's not me. That would be unethical. That would not align with my mission, vision, and values. I would not want to build a business unethically. But if you go and see a business strategist or you work with a business coach and you get that anxious feeling because what they are asking you to do is completely outside your comfort zone and it scares you, that's completely different. So when I say it has to align with your mission, vision, and values, right? But if it doesn't, then no, you're not going to follow them. Like I know that I'm not for everybody. I'm not. There are certain people that align with me and certain people that might think I'm batshit crazy. And I'm okay with that. I really am. But going back to this exercise that I did with Rogue, what I don't like, and which is a completely normal human thing, is I don't like negative reviews. I remember, and I think I shared this on a podcast last year. I did this workshop and I always get 5-star reviews. I know that sounds really cocky, but I always get 5-star reviews. And I had done this program several times. And there were these two guys in the room, and no matter what I did, they sat there with their arms crossed. They didn't want to engage. They just were really negative throughout the whole thing. And I swear I tried. I get the reviews back, bunch of 5s, and then there's 2 1s from these two. And I know they were anonymous, but I knew they were from the two guys. And that kept me up. I was like, oh my God, I called the people. I'm like, I never get, and they're like, it's fine. Like, you can't please everybody. I'm like, but you don't understand. I've never gotten anything less than a 5. And it's kind of like that kid in high school who's always gotten all A's and then they go to college and they get their first B and have a meltdown. Like, that was my experience, right? But I just wasn't for them at that space in their time, what they were going through. And both of them were kind of going through a merger and acquisition. One was going to lose his job. Like he just didn't want to be there. And no matter what I said was not going to make this guy happy. So the alignment thing is important, right? So when you're going out in this personal development world, whether you're listening to me, whether you're listening to Mel Robbins, whether you're a Napoleon Hill junkie, it doesn't matter. It has to align in the right way. And, the other thing that you want to be really careful with is if it's too familiar, meaning that, if you keep reading the same books over and over and over again and you're not taking any action, like, what's that doing for you? And again, I'm guilty of this. I am famous for buying a new journal, and I especially like I so want to be like a junk journal, bullet journal person that does something every day and fills in all the circles and habit trackers. I so want to do that, and I start and stop and start and stop. And I finally realized, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I just need to journal like when I want to journal, because being that consistent in it isn't going to change my life one way or the other. So if you were to just keep reading the same self-help books over and over again, or listening to the same podcasts over again, and you're in a space where you really want to change, then that's a red flag. Like maybe switch it up, read something different, or actually take some action. Actually take some action. The next part of this is it's about creating, not conforming. So here's another thing I hear all the time. Cindy, I would love to have your life. I would love to have your life. I mean, I live full time in an RV traveling, although I am stationary right now at my daughter's house, as you can see in the back. But we travel. I sold my house and everything in it. Well, Dave's a minimalist. I'm sort of a minimalist maximalist, if that makes sense. Like I have too much stuff, but it's still in a tiny little space. I like to collect things. But the conforming thing is not a good thing. So when somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, Cindy, I would love to have your life," I'm like, "No, you need to figure out how to have your life and love your life." Like everybody is an individual, which is why personal development is such a wild industry, right? Because what works for me may not necessarily work for you. It may not, right? You don't want to be me. You want to go figure out how to be the best version of yourself. You want to figure out how to be happy. You want to figure out how to be prosperous. Whatever your goals are, you want to just live a joyous life. That's most people just want to be happy. So what does that mean to create, not to conform? So as you like, if you're on your personal development journey, again, whether you listen to me and Mel Robbins, you read books, listen to podcasts, you have to find those little pieces that work for you. So now you get a blueprint. Going back to, I want to be Mel Robbins, right? I've studied her a lot along her journey. Like she was a coach, I'm a coach. I wasn't a lawyer, but I've done my stint in corporate. She had some financial issues. I so align with that. She's got kids, the whole thing. So, her blueprint is important. But again, everything that she did isn't going to align with me. Like I'm not going to go move between Vermont and Boston. Like she has her podcast studio in Boston. She brings on guests all the time. I don't necessarily do that. But there's a lot of things that she did that I could absolutely model and then figure out how it works best for me. So that's the create part, not the conform part. You don't want to go be Tony Robbins. You've got to go figure out what Tony Robbins does, maybe some inspirational things that he says that will prompt you to go do other things. I mean, it's really kind of my mission with this podcast and my writing is to inspire you to go live your best damn life because time is finite, right? But I don't want you to be me. I want you to create the life that you were always meant to live, always meant to live. And I'm actually taking notes here so I stay on track. The part of the exercise that I did with Rogue was, again, diving into these things that I really want to accomplish in life and the things that are holding me back. And regardless of where you are on your personal development journey, like you have to stop and assess where you are, what's working and what's not working, right? And for me, it was making these excuses. And I just had this argument with Dave before I hit record on this because he's like, you can just go to Adobe Podcast and you can, because I kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting because I didn't like what I said. He's like, just go on Adobe Podcast and you can just edit the text version and it will edit out the audio part, which is brilliant, but it doesn't do video. And I was like, I didn't do this whole podcast for a year because of the video, and I don't want to learn how to edit video, so I have to just stop and start over. And eventually I just start talking, and it doesn't matter about the ands and the ums and the faux pas when I say something wrong or I forget where I am. I just let it go. Because again, that's kind of who I am. Will I someday learn how to edit video? Maybe. Or I'll hire somebody. Like now, Mel Robbins has an entire staff to edit her video and pull out the clips to go on TikTok and Instagram Reels. But in the beginning, she didn't. In fact, when like the first book, she was one of the first people to put books on Audible. And she just read them herself, like in not a fancy studio, but she just read them. And if you listen to some of her early books, she'll repeat things and it's because it's just her talking into a microphone. Going back to what Rogue said, it's like, just go be you. Like, it doesn't matter. And those are the kind of things that I get hung up on, right? And that's part of my personal development journey. Because people keep telling me, like, just get on the camera, just do more social media. And I remember I've told my business coach, I don't know how many times, I don't want to be this person on social media all the time. And he kept saying, why? Like, you have no problem getting up in front of 1,000 people and a microphone and just, saying, like, you don't use PowerPoints, you just get up there and you talk for like an hour, and they usually have to cut you off because you're still talking. And you always get great reviews. Like, why are you so hung up on this social media thing? And it came down to that, when you put yourself out on social media, you're going to get all of the negative people. At some point, you're going to end up on the wrong side of TikTok, right? And you'll have to listen to that feedback. And it was just a space that I was like, oh, that's just like one more thing I'm going to have to deal with. But the reality is that I will never get to where I want to go and take this podcast to where I want to go or get my speaking career to where I want it to be without doing those things. So I have to make a decision, and there's no right or wrong one here. Back to the create and conform thing. There's no right or wrong. I can stay where I am and just keep doing what I'm doing. Or I can put myself out there and get to that uncomfortable zone and just let the negative comments happen, just put them in a box and let them be and focus on the positive ones, learn from my mistakes, grow, hire somebody to edit my stuff, hire a social media manager. I don't know what that looks like. And it doesn't really matter because you have to just take one step. You have to put the reps in. And that's what Mel was saying in the let them theory. That was the part I was listening to as I was on the treadmill this morning. Like, you really do have to just put the reps in. You want to be healthier, you got to go to the gym, you got to put the reps in, right? You want to be a better speaker, you have to put the reps in. You want to be better at anything, you have to put the reps in. You model people who have been there before you. You compare yourself in a healthy way. Oh, if I want to get to here, I can do this, right? It's kind of like professional athletes, like they put in the time. They aren't necessarily more talented than somebody who didn't make the NFL, but they put in the time, they put in the reps. So that's kind of like what I want you to think about this week. Take the personal development stuff that you've done, go through all your old journals, all the projects that you started, and do the deep work. And if you want those 10 questions that ChatGPT actually gave to me, I'm happy to email them to whomever. Just drop me a note at cindy@cindy-donaldson.com, and I put them in a PDF and you can have them. But if you are really savvy with ChatGPT or whatever AI you happen to use, and you've built up your persona, meaning that ChatGPT knows you really well, knows your goals, your aspirations, your strengths, your weaknesses, then this works incredibly well because it's able to be really real with you. So I'm taking all of those answers and I'm rewriting them in my journal. And I already took the first step. So my homework for today was to just do the video, not put a filter on. So the messy room is behind me. Don't edit the video, just put it out there. Have my notes if I want to have my notes, which I did, and just let it be. And if people like it, great. If people don't like it and give me negative feedback, take it for what it is. If it's good constructive criticism, take the criticism, use it, change it up. If it's stupid criticism, then throw it in a box and don't think about it again. So that's where I am. So enjoy your personal development journey. It's a wild one, and it's something that I have spent a lot of time working on in my life, like 40 years of it. Gone through, like I said, a lot of therapists, a lot of coaches, and I've read a lot of books, a lot of books. And some have profoundly changed my life. And others I felt like I read them and then I felt compelled that like I should be doing because it was the hot thing on the market, like everybody was doing it, like the 4-hour work week. Um, I remember that was really an Atomic Habits. That was another big one. And I took some things out of those, but they just weren't me. They just weren't me. But then there were other things that just hit, like of all things, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. That book profoundly changed my life. And there are things in there that I still use today. So anyway, I'm Cindy Donaldson. This is the Cindy Donaldson Show. Thanks for joining me. If you want to learn more about my coaching business, or again, if you'd like to get the 10 questions, it's www.cindy-donaldson.com. You can reach out to me at cindy@cindy-donaldson.com. If you want to learn more about my business strategy company or my promotional products company, visit redbarnconsultingllc.com. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.